now recording for the next episode.
Okay.
The season finale.
The big finish. Dun, 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 dun.
Do-do-do. I'm ready when you are.
Yeah, I think I'm ready.
Welcome back to Dad's Meet World. One last time in season 2, one last time in 7th grade, quote unquote 7th grade. I am one of your dads. I'm Tyler. I am joined by
Your other dad, apparently the pooper scooper this week, dad number 2, Brett.
I like how that's catching on for us.
That is. That'll be a shirt.
We're here to do our regular weekly deep dive into that classic show known as Boy Meets World. And Brett, I feel like we've been waiting for this moment all season. That moment of what's happening next season. But, you know, it's that awkward getting into the new realm of this show, because there's such a difference between season 1 to season 2, and season 2 is kind of this preamble into what this show is going to become, and the characters, like the actors themselves, figuring out who these people are, and the writers being able to write better for them. And all in all, when we're done with this episode, we're heading into truly greener passage, and I am so excited. Can't wait. But this is also a good episode, and I want to talk about it with you, Brett.
I agree.
Yeah. So, Brett, what's new with you? What's going on? What's happening?
Oh, you know, it's been a long week, and it's only Monday.
Yep.
Got back from vacation, getting back in the swing of things at work, getting ready for another vacation. Because we're boo. Going to take a vacation with just the wife and I. Kind of a delayed reward for her. Graduated with her master's degree for social work. So I'm spending this week getting back into the groove at my day job and setting stuff up to take place while I'm gone for the week after that, and for stuff to come back after I get back. So a lot of that type of stuff going on. And at the same time, I've already started working on some artistic stuff for season 3 of Dad's Meet World. So that's been interesting as well. Yes,
I cannot wait for that.
Already started updating our apparel for the artwork, for the official artwork for Dad's Meet World. One of us may or may not have a leather jacket on next season. How about you, Tyler? How's this week going?
It's going all right. What I need to talk to you about, Brett, is it's a personal complaint.
Well, let me guess. Is it?
No, dogs are fine. They're people too. My complaint is while we were on vacation, I've been stewing over this for a while now, and you know, a certain show that my son and my wife and I occasionally enjoy as well had some new episodes drop, and it's a big deal. And just your family, who never watched Bluey before this, just got sucked into it, and my personal little, annoyance grew into vacation time where people were sucked into watching Bluey nonstop. And I like Bluey, but oh my gosh, so much Bluey happened on this trip to a part that I'm annoyed by it. I haven't even seen all the new episodes, and I'm annoyed. I don't even know if I want to watch them.
And you know, I was only around for maybe a third of all the Bluey watching too, so a lot of that happened when I wasn't in the room too.
Yeah, so it's so much Bluey. Real quick, I have to say, going from the last night not the last night, but the night prior when we watched Justice League like all the way through. When I turned off Bluey and went to Justice League, watching your son's face reacting to that was just priceless. I watched him turn to me and go, "He didn't even ask me what I wanted to watch. I can't believe he put this on." I'm just like, "Oh, Asher," and I was sitting there looking at you like, "Are you gonna say turn it off? If you're not going to say turn it off, I'm not turning this off. We're watching this thing." And he didn't say anything, and your wife didn't say anything. I'm like, "Well, I guess we're doing it."
Yep. It's like, well, Asher, really it's bedtime for you, bud.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing. It's like Grayson already went off to bed, and like we knew Asher. I knew Asher was soon off to bed as well. So just, it made me giggle just watching his reaction.
It's like, I wasn't done. Yeah, you were.
And to be direct, Grayson, I'm not laughing at Asher. I'm laughing at everything.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Just so much Bluey, so much good times. But hey, we got to watch 4 hours of one of our favorite movies and had a good time with it. So
that's right. And hey, who knows, good-looking people, you might be hearing some recordings about our experiences
maybe
with
there's
that.
something that we did while we were there. Maybe not. Maybe
Might be a side gig there coming up. You never know.
Maybe who's to say, Brett? Who's to say?
We may or may not have recorded at least 3 hours worth of material about that.
Who is to say, though?
Maybe the guy
I did
that
giggle
has to
because my
edit
wife
it.
was like, "What did you guys record while we were away?" I go, "Don't worry about it."
Forget about it. All right. Well, let's look at what we're going to see tonight, this week, this afternoon, this morning, whenever you're listening, even if it's 3 a.m. This episode is the season finale, episode 23 of season 2, simply titled Home. After staying with Corey's family for 3 weeks and not exactly fitting in, Shawn searches for a more permanent home. Meanwhile, Feeney takes advantage of the fact that Eric needs help to study for the SATs by making him do yard work. This episode was written by Jeff C. Sherman, directed by David Kendall, originally aired May 19th, 1995, and currently enjoys an 8.2 rating on IMDb.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? Directed by
David Kendall.
Because that's not David Traynor.
That is not David Traynor. No, it is one of, I believe, 3 episodes throughout the first 2 seasons that wasn't David Traynor. And there'll be a handful more. David kind of phases out somewhat by the time we get into seasons 4, really.
Right.
Throughout season 3 and 4, we'll begin to really phase out of David Traynor.
Well, I know he's done interviews before and talked about this openly, but just he could feel that the show was going away from what initially was pitched as, and he knew, like, okay, my time is moving on. And that's wise. I mean, it's just because they're going into more relationship stuff, and he didn't really feel as comfortable trying to direct these children that he knew. And he's like, I need these guys to have adults coming in that don't know them as the little kids that was in the pilot.
It's a very wise approach for him to have. Yes.
Right.
So let's play everyone's favorite game show.
Vast
19.
emotional damage.
It's got to be 19.
Last week's Nielsen rating was 15.1, and here we are, season 2 finale. Tyler's locking in his guess at 19 million for his Nielsen rating. 14.2.
How is it possible?
We actually lost almost a full million from last week.
I can't believe that. Maybe for next season, you may need to give me a couple of choices, or you're just enjoying seeing how far off I truly am. I can't tell which one.
We'll see.
Is better.
Yes. It's
Good looking people. Let me know. Do you actually want me to have a fighting chance at this game, or do you just enjoy hearing me just completely not know what's going on and just throwing out random numbers?
yeah. Throw it in a comment somewhere or send us an email. Let us know. Well, that is the setup for home.
We start this episode in the boys' room, and we feel the juxtaposition right away of Shawn's in the bathroom and Corey and Eric kind of messing with each other a little bit, like almost being more snappy at one another, like they're both stressed. And so, Eric is super stressed about the SATs. Corey is just on edge because his best friend's there and just monopolizing things like the bathroom. And like his best friend is more of an inconvenience right now.
Yes.
So it's like they got another brother.
It's really just one people too many.
It really is. And we go downstairs and discover that apparently Amy has bought some clothes for Shawn. And it's similar clothes to what she has bought in Corey, apparently. And Shawn doesn't know how to feel about it.
Yes. Yes. Now, while we're in the kitchen, though, before we get to Shawn's clothing, I want to take a step back here because, first I want to point back to two things. One, apparently facial hair really comes in early for the Hunter family because there's this fun little visual gag of Shawn shaving for the day. And he's shaving parts of his face that I've never had to shave.
No.
But it's great. Good looking people. Check it out.
He also says his mother's side it comes in.
Yes. So there's another fun little element of Verna that we find out. But also,
okay, I'll just say this real quick before I forget this again, because I thought about this all last episode. And I've been thinking about it all week. When Verna took their vehicle, she took everything that Shawn owns.
Yes.
So like she didn't think to like put out at least Shawn's stuff so that he could have clothes for things and all his favorite stuff. She just took everything. Like.
Yeah. I wonder.
That is crazy. I don't want to start there, but like it has to be said that literally all of Shawn's stuff is not in his possession right now.
Yeah, everything he owns in the world was on his body at that moment when she left, or in his backpack. So, and I've wondered this for years, and I don't remember off the top of my head, but either Verna was a very selfish woman, or Verna had some mental health issues that were undiagnosed or at least untreated.
Could be both.
It definitely could be both. But before we get to the clothing, there is one fairly significant moment. It's a quiet moment that we must address. Morgan is eating ice cream for breakfast. And yes, it's nutritional tips from the Hunter family. Because Shawn has ice cream for breakfast, and Alan bribes Morgan to leave the kitchen for $1. When Morgan walks out of the room, this is the last time we will ever see Lily Gibson on Boy Meets World. This is the last time Morgan will show up for episodes. So,
for a while.
Sayonara, and thank you so much for your service, Lily Gibson. You have been a fantastic Morgan for us for nearly 2 full seasons. And I just didn't want to let her leave screen without pointing this out.
I like to see more of her and less of him.
She was so adorable and she did her job so well. And it makes me sad that like she was so young and just didn't want to be there anymore. And I love that they were able to bring her in, have her do like a quick scene, let her be cute, and then walk away. And I guess in my head, she disappears a lot sooner just because they're being in and out, in and out, in and out. But, eventually things will right its course with Morgan. But just her being adorable is always amazing and well appreciated. So, and she did a great job.
She did. And
The undead are cool.
yep.
You got a problem with that?
But Morgan will be missed. So, but yes, wanted to make sure we didn't miss that. So yes, Amy has bought clothes for Shawn, identical to course, but not just bought clothes. She repaired Shawn's clothes too.
Oh my gosh. Those jeans.
And she is marking all of Shawn's milk and juice and everything with a big old
So many
S.
containers. So many.
Because as Shawn says,
Dad has this saying, "The cup, who you trying to impress?"
I do love the folksy charm and wit of Chet. So whenever I can include those Chet sayings, I will.
I think what helps now is because we do have the actor of Chet established. When Shawn makes a thing about his dad, he can do an impersonation of him. And
Yes.
his impersonation is always hilarious. And it becomes more real in a way and defines that character better. Mm-hmm. Because regardless of what happens next season, he'll always be desiring for his dad to be more active in his life.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Thank you, Lily, for your services. And if you want to come talk about your experience, we'd love to have you. I love that Alan and Amy have this conversation in the kitchen of just both of them are kind of frustrated. Both of them are upset and disappointed. Mm-hmm. And they're not mad at Shawn. It's just the situation that they're in.
Yeah.
But if Shawn walks into this, it wouldn't be hard for him to assume that the Matthewses just don't want him around.
Yeah.
And it's not the case. It's just literally was put on his doorstep, their doorstep, and they're all trying to make the best of it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I do love that he then gets to school and we discover that he cut up the hoodie.
Yeah, and there's I want to share this conversation he has with Corey.
Shawn, is that the new shirt my mom gave you?
Yeah, looks all right now, huh?
Do you know what she's gonna do when she sees that?
My guess is clean it, sew it back together, and put an S on it.
Look, she's just trying to be nice to you.
And I'm just trying to get through this thing without making any waves.
Matthews, how's it working out with Hunter?
Terrific. Great. I mean, we're best friends.
Listen, if anything comes up and the offer stands, you call me at home anytime you need to, okay?
Giving your home number to students?
Come on, George. Hunter's going through a tough time, and I'm his teacher.
Yes, you're his teacher, and only his teacher. You do well to remember that.
Right, hold on. You're always getting involved with the Matthews kids.
Eric, lock up! An unfortunate consequence of living next door.
No, I want to get into that, but before then, I do love that Miss Thompson and him are having this small moment of her leaving something over there, testing to see if he'll accept it as is or if he'll rush to give it back to her. And he clearly failed that test. There's no way around it. And I love that Feeny is like there and just wondering like what's going on. And then
Jonathan,
once he
you're
realizes what he
brown-bagging.
stepped into, he's like, oh, okay.
Clearly a subject. Let's change the subject.
But then once the two of them are having this conversation of what it means to be involved in their students' lives, what is that line for student to teacher? And I love that Turner's trying to throw it back. Like, you're always involved in the Matthews is like, you are everything that goes on over there. Like, you are involved. And he's like, yeah, they are my neighbors. And it's basically like based on proxy of distance. Like if they weren't neighbors, he wouldn't be involved. If he didn't know Corey since the day he was born, he wouldn't care as much.
Yep.
So, but also loving that he is protective of Eric.
Which, I mean, it's an open locker door. It's not that heavy. Eric could have easily not been injured at all. So Feeney didn't have to interfere.
You and I both know that if Eric hit that, he'd hit it hard and fall and hurt himself.
Yeah, he would.
Yeah, but again, it is sowing the seeds of Eric or Shawn is uncomfortable. Turner wants to do something, and there's just such a gray right now of what is the best option for this kid, and what's the best for Turner's life moving forward. Because as much as Miss Tompkins is trying to get a commitment out of him, he's really not putting forth the effort to say yes. Put that effort in with me. So. Yes. Sorry, I just saw the Eric Locker. One of the things we're learning is that Eric is not doing well for his prep, and it's almost like he's trying too hard, if you will. It's almost like he's a grocer who's coming to give a career advice, and he's doing not well.
To the point where he misspells his own name on the practice test.
Yeah. And this is the point that we start to learn that Feeney has some secrets that he could dispel to him, but it's going to cost him.
But before we get to the secrets, Eric in the living or in the kitchen decides that there's not enough air inside and they need to get outside, him and Jason. Good old H2O. And Jason decides that's just enough for him for the night. He's going home. And this is the last time we will ever see Jason Marsden on Boy Meets World. This is the curtain call for Jason Marsden. Thank you for 2 seasons of being Eric's best friend and a great comedic foil. Just wanted to point that out, share that out for all of you good-looking people.
Okay, that's just logic. That's getting in our way.
There are some great Jason moments.
It feels like this is a character that we didn't get enough time with, yet we felt like we had so much time with. It's a shame his time is over.
It is. It does feel like it's too soon, and I don't know.
Like once you realize how little of the show he's actually in, you're like, oh, I thought he was in so much more.
Yeah, and I mean, we're talking like a season and a half. Appearances over a season and a half at best. And, you know, I don't know, because I know he also went on to a larger role on Step by Step.
Step by step, day by day.
And so I don't know if that was a behind the scenes thing where his role on Step by Step was just growing as a result, or it was growing and that he didn't have the time to split between the two, or if there was something else behind the scenes. But I really would have loved even just one more season through high school to have him be with Eric through the senior year.
Well, I mean, the implications kind of are that I think Jason graduates. It doesn't make it clear that he's a year older than him. They make it seem like they're both the same age, but maybe he graduates early, or he goes to a different school. Who knows? Like, it happens. People do get transferred going into their senior year. It sucks, but it happens. But what I appreciate about Jason is it gave a different dynamic for Eric. We've said this before, and I do wish that we got more of an antagonisticness towards Corey and what Eric does in that. I think we missed out on those type of moments because he played a good I'm being a jerk to your little brother, and Eric was just fine with it.
Yeah.
So it would have been interesting if we could have done more of this, but we had to get the, Harley and that Harley.
Yep.
Had to.
Yeah.
It's a requirement.
So Feeney's got secrets for a price.
He does. 3 secrets, in fact.
Yes. Secrets so great that they would, how did he phrase it, would unravel the entire college screening process as we know it.
Oh, Feeney.
I love
Feeney and your scams.
How Eric, when he realizes that Feeney's trying to hint at some sort of payment, he just reaches in for the wallet. And then just those small gestures, Feeney, oh, no. Hushes the lips, and then they go for a handshake. Just some great stuff there.
It's that display of great acting between the two of them and their relationship and chemistry they really have.
Oh, yeah.
We do get to Shawn being apparently called by a wild dog or stray dog, if you will.
Yep.
And Corey and Shawn having two different understandings of what the stray dog is howling about or barking about. And Shawn decides that he's out of here.
He's going to take himself out for a walk, and that's what Corey is supposed to tell Alan and Amy if they ask where he went.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, I'm kind of surprised that he lasted 3 weeks in the Matthews house before he took himself for a walk.
I am too. I know they needed to say the 3 weeks to kind of gauge of that, but I feel like he should have left days afterwards. Like, there's no way around that he could have kept 3 weeks like that. But, episode after episode.
Yep.
And now, Brett, we get to the important scene of the whole episode.
This is actually this Turner and Miss Tompkins' cat on a date, and this is where I was the last episode where I was getting some conversations mixed up. Mr. Turner, Jonathan, and Kat. I'm just going to go with their first names because this is an adult conversation they're having. Jonathan and Kat are talking, and she is. We get some clear numbers here. They've been together for 4 months. They've been dating for 4 months, and she is looking for commitment. She is looking, and this is not reading between the lines. This is dialogue on the page. This is acting in front of the camera. This is right there for anyone in the room, right there for John and Kat. And I mean, not knocking anyone on the couch here, but also putting some context to where we were last episode with John and Kat and John's reluctance, and here with John's reluctance too. And we'll see some more next season. John does seem to have a streak where he is hesitant to commit. But after 4 months, Kat's looking for a commitment. She's looking for something real, potentially a marriage commitment. And she wants John to look her in the eyes, and she wants to know, do you love me? And there's this fun, I clipped it, where he gives her a compliment about how nice her eyes are. And she gets, basically goes from nice eyes to, do you think you could marry me? And it's how do you get that from that? He says, I could look in your eyes forever. Which, granted, the way the conversations we've seen, I can understand why Kat is going in that mind, on that wavelength. But
you take a compliment worse than any woman I've ever met.
I'm just going to say it like this, Brett, and you can tell me, no, I'm wrong, but Jonathan Turner as a person seems to be the type of guy who he plays the boyfriend role very well. He knows the things to say to get women to kind of stick around. And so he's not really having like one night stands or anything like that. Like, he has relationships, but like they always fizzle out. Well, why do they fizzle out? Well, because he says things and never really lives up to those things. Like, you don't tell someone I can look into your eyes forever unless there's a desire to marry and die looking into those eyes.
Yeah. And I will, I've got two thoughts in my head, and I'm trying to flesh them out at the same time. On the one hand, in Kat's defense, he is, like you say, he's saying the right things. He is playing the boyfriend well. We've seen him as a character. We have been given all of the right cues to say this is effectively kind of a ladies' man. He is a bachelor. He is, you look at his apartment. He can cook. He's got good music. He is well groomed. He's a catch, and he's saying the right things to Kat. You can see they've gone from dating to getting closer. The emotional intimacy seems to be there, but the commitment's not there. In Jonathan's defense, now granted, this is nothing on this current writing team, But next season, we're going to find out Jonathan was a heartbeat away from marriage next season in his past. So it's not like it's a foreign concept to him. I say that with knowledge that the writing staff at this point did not have. But as a fully fleshed out character, and at the same time, this is a 4-month-old relationship. Now, when I was dating Kelly, we were engaged within 6 months of dating. We were married a little over a year, about 14 months after we started dating. 14, 15 months after we started dating. A little different for me than Jonathan. But at 4 months, I don't know if I would be expecting in Jonathan's shoes to have that conversation at 4 months in of, are we going to be getting married or are we just having fun? Define the relationship, sure, but it might be asking a lot to throw that out there of, are we getting married?
I interpreted her conversation and her questioning, not like, are you going to propose to me within a week? More just of like, hey, where do you see this going? Mm-hmm. If you see this going towards marriage, I'm sticking around. If you see us together having kids, like if that's what you're thinking and planning, just tell me that. Just say, I see a future with you. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, let's not beat around the bush. Like,
well, she makes a good point. They're not spring chickens. They're not necessarily young.
Right. Well, for both of them, especially in the 90s, if they're to get married and have kids, they may have to have kids first so they could actually have them and not worry about, certain things that come along with a, what's the word? I'm trying to think of what it's called. Oh, gosh, that's going to annoy the crap out of me so much. Basically, when someone who is older has a baby, it's called a specific thing that always makes people feel very uncomfortable. I can't think of it off the top of my head right now. But basically, when someone is in the late 30s, closer into the 40s, there is more danger in that pregnancy for both mom and also potential baby. So I have to look up what it's called now. It's going to drive me crazy this whole time if I don't. Geriatric. Yes. Pregnancies after 35 could be considered a geriatric pregnancy.
And I don't think they're necessarily that old. I picture them as mid to late 20s at this point.
Right.
But the argument does stand. Even if they get married now, they could be looking at potentially still being in that mindset of having a family as she gets to that point.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think this is a conversation that should have happened weeks ago, months ago, probably. Like they both could just be in such that span of like, well, we're trying to date, we're trying to keep things casual, we're not trying to put any pressure on ourselves. And potentially for Jonathan, it is, I almost got married to the wrong person once. Do I want to do that again? Mm-hmm. And he wants to keep things as casual and as loose as long as possible, to the point of her doing tests and him failing it. And I do love the fact that she decides to step away. Mm-hmm. It makes me sad because I wish she didn't, but she had to do what she had to do.
Yep.
Well, you got that from that?
So anyway, they do get interrupted.
Also, real quick, good-looking people, you need to have these type of important conversations. They need to happen earlier than later, and you want to make sure you're communicating so you know where people are.
Yes, don't hear what I'm not saying, good-looking people. Even though I bring up the point that this is a 4-month-old relationship, and in what little we get to see of it on screen, it does seem like that is a giant leap. You do need to have those types of conversations.
And of course, there's a knock on the door, luckily for Jonathan, so he goes and answers it.
2 episodes in a row saved by the knock.
And it's Shawn with a cop.
With a cop. This officer is played by Ivory Ocean. That is a fantastic name, I have to say. Mm-hmm. Ivory Ocean. First and only time we're going to see him on Boy Meets World, sadly. He did pass away in 2011.
Oh.
46 acting credits to his name, including Roseanne, Growing Pains, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Blossom, The Mask. He was the mayor of Edge City in The Mask.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I have to rewatch that movie.
Seinfeld, ER, NYPD Blues, Sliders, and more.
Nice. I do love this juxtaposition that now Mr. Turner is in, Jonathan is in, of someone asking, do you see a future? Are you willing to commit to me? And this child who is hurting and desperately needs help and won't say that he needs help, but he knows he does.
Yeah, it's not the person asking for a commitment that he's going to be willing to make a commitment to. It's the one who's not.
Right. And I don't think she had to leave and walk away forever, but I do think this is her understanding of, you're going to avoid this conversation.
Yeah.
Like, he easily could have said, yes, officer, he's going to go straight back to his room right away, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, I have to her and I have to finish our conversation. And it's almost like he used this as an opportunity to avoid it altogether.
Yeah. So, Kat does leave. Darlene Vogel. This is a series wrap.
Departing character.
Yes, last time we're ever going to see Kat or Darlene Vogel on Boy Meets World.
Again, I thought she was in the show so much longer.
Yep. But no more her after this week. So, Kat, not as much from you as we got from Jason or Morgan, but still, while you were here, you did bring a lot.
She's in that pantheon of great female characters that come along for a short time period. You think she's there longer and just does a fantastic job. So,
yeah. Still would have loved to see her teach a class with Corey and Shawn in it.
Yeah, so would I. I really just
would have loved to see her and Topanga get some time together too.
But I think they do make it clear that she teaches history, and George Feeney also teaches history, and they have history with Feeney. They could have done an episode where she takes over the class for a day because Feeney has to deal with something like administratively, and that would have been interesting.
Like Griff. That would have been great.
It would. Oh, lost opportunities, Brett.
Yeah. But after the cop leaves and Kat leaves, there's this conversation.
I love this moment so much.
Yes. So let me bring up this clip, see if I got enough of it for you here.
Thanks for covering for me. Corey's folks would have freaked if I showed up with that cop.
Oh, like this? Would they have yelled at you like this?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Would they have told you how stupid you are for being out so late?
Okay, I get your point.
No, I don't think you do.
Fine, then I'll just get out of your way. I thought you were cooler than that.
No, I'm not cool at all. In fact, I get real old-fashioned when I see somebody that I care about being brought home by cops.
Mr. Turner, do you have to yell? I've had a really rotten night.
Oh, do you see me ballroom dancing here?
Look, is this gonna take all night? Because I got places to be, man.
Hunter, you keep heading down this life track you're on, then the places you're going aren't any places you're gonna want to be, man.
Look, I'm sorry I messed up your night.
I already messed it up before you got here.
You could argue that this is probably the first time we're seeing not Mr. Turner. He is really meeting the real Jonathan Turner. The person that truly actually cares about him. And he's still trying to call him Mr. Turner, but he's just like, you need to realize what's going on. This isn't about class. This isn't about English. This is about your life and what you're doing.
Yeah, because, I mean, he was just brought to the apartment because he was out with a group of older high schoolers about to graffiti some walls with spray paint. And the story he gave the cops was his parents were called away to East Virginia to save a little girl who fell down a blowhole.
Yeah. But I also appreciate that for him. He's admitting, like, I already messed the night up. Like, you just kind of nailed the coffin.
Yeah. And that moment, he manages to transition from yelling at him about what's important to sitting on the couch with him and sharing that, it's my night was already wrecked before you got here. It wasn't because of you that it was a bad night. He's letting him know, yeah, it was not good you coming here, but you're not the cause of my bad night. It's a really good balancing act.
Mm-hmm. I just love how you're getting a different dynamic once the two of them are sitting side by side on the couch and a little more equals like.
Mm-hmm.
That's like he's like, I wish you were this sharp in my class. Well, math is my best subject. I'm your English teacher.
Well, what are you doing? What are you doing teaching me math?
Are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me?
Okay, I know we made fun of the writers for, everything being I'm this boy, I'm that boy, but Are You Kidding Me is really sticking around, and I like how it's a very firm thing in this show.
I do like that. That one was a good stick. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I also love how the next scene it's in the kitchen and it's like, hey, breakfast, and Corey walks down with no Shawn, and they're immediately just like, yeah, he left last night at 9. It's like, how do you guys know everything?
Do you two just know everything all the time?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is not the first time that he's run away from the Matthews house.
Oh, yeah.
And John comes in he comes in the door right away.
Jonathan, thank you for the phone call. Let us know what's going on in our own house.
Hey, where were you last night?
Terrace, would you relax?
Corey and Shawn upstairs now.
First Shawn sneaks out, now Corey's lying to us. When I told Chet I'd take Shawn in, I didn't mean forever.
When's the last time anybody heard from him?
He backed out the driveway, hit our trash can, says, okay, I'm all right.
Again, it's this frustration that they all have of the predicament that this man put them in.
Mm-hmm.
And how the person who's hurting the most and what they're actually frustrated about is Shawn.
Yeah, he's at the center of everything, but he is not the cause of everything.
Yeah. He is the byproduct of the problem.
Mm-hmm. And I really
could be worse.
I really wonder at Jonathan's family life growing up, because we find out more of it later on, but at this point he's talking in the kitchen about Shawn not being a bad kid, but he relates to him because he knows how easy it is to act up when your family isn't there for you.
Yeah.
And we find out later on that Jonathan does come from money, but in some ways the abandonment, it hurts more because you see exactly what you should have right in front of you.
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately there are people who have a lot of money who believe that their children will be loved because of the things that they give them and aren't getting the time with them that they desperately need.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it breaks my heart more for those kids than the ones that their parents are always around but they're always struggling.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, my heart always breaks for a teenager who desperately doesn't feel like they're being loved. So regardless, the ones that are hurting are kids like Shawn and the kid that Jonathan used to be.
Yep.
So I do love that Eric walks in and looks like a crazy man who's been outside all, 2 days straight.
Oh, yeah, but
slept in the bushes.
Right in the palm of my hand.
He's got Feeney right where he wants him. Wants the weed back.
Yeah. I love that so much.
But Chet calls and, Alan lets him know, hey, this really isn't fair. If you're going to be out longer, you need to be the one to tell Shawn.
I just did.
If I know Shawn, if people are talking about him, he's there listening over their shoulder.
Yep.
And everyone turns around. He's right there on the stairs.
As neglectful as a father as he is, he still knows his kid.
Yeah. And
knew that there's no way that if there was a phone call that he wouldn't be listening in on it.
Yeah. And, Shawn heard the whole conversation. You heard Alan sharing that, this has been difficult to adjust to, that there have been sacrifices that they've needed to make, and that Chet has been staying out longer than he was intending to, and that he was going to stay out more. And he interprets that as no one wants me. Well, I don't need any of you guys.
But the amount of teenagers that still to this day feels that just one of the things that I know breaks both of our hearts.
Yeah.
Of just not feeling wanted and not feeling like anyone actually cares if they're there or not, and feeling like they're inconvenience.
Yep.
It's a feeling, and it's a state of mind that can send teenagers into really dark, bad places. And I think that's the thing that Turner is fearful of what road he's going to go down if he continues to feel this way.
Yeah, I think he sees exactly where it's going to wind up. And so everyone chases Shawn upstairs, but Turner kind of knows what's going to happen. So he goes outside.
Fall down a blowhole, did you?
I'm not in the class. I don't have to listen to you.
Where are you going to run now?
What do you care?
I was beginning to think I didn't care about anything.
Yeah, fine, whatever. I gotta go.
Yeah, I know. I've been there. Someone reaches out to you and says they care about you. It's easy to run.
Look, I'm sure you got a lot of big emotional problems to work through here, but I just need to find a place to sleep, okay?
I'll do you one better. How about I give you a home?
What, your place?
Yeah, my place.
For how long? 3 weeks and then you get sick of me?
Well, I'm sick of you now, Hunter, but I'm still making the offer.
Why?
Because I'm thinking I should do something for somebody else. I think I need that.
You're not going to tell me what to do.
Somebody's got it.
You're not my dad.
I'm not trying to be. Look, I'm just offering you a roof and a window to crawl out of. Although it is 5 stories up.
I like a challenge.
So do I.
This is one of the best moments in the whole show. Because, again, it's not his teacher talking to him right now. It's a man who's been through a lot of hurt and feeling like nobody wanted him. And he's trying to make sure that someone else doesn't feel that way. It truly is beautiful.
It is. And he's not making empty promises. Yeah, you're not going to tell me what to do. Someone needs to. You're not my dad. I'm not trying to be. I'm just offering you a roof and a window to climb out of.
Well, I like how he says, in 3 weeks, you're going to be sick of me. I'm already sick of you.
But I'm still making the offer.
Right. It's this understanding that the two of them have with one another that Shawn doesn't have with other people. And it's one of the things that makes me excited about the next season as we talk specifically about the dynamic between Shawn and Mr. Turner and that whole up and down cycle. And it really pushes Shawn to not become a new person, but to be a better version of himself. It's almost like for 1 year, he doesn't have to worry and stress about things that he's always worried and stressed about. I love that Corey tries to jump after him and he hurts himself. And where did his treehouse go?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it might officially be gone.
Probably. I mean, in all honesty, they could have cut it down because it was getting old and decrepit and weren't going to use it anymore.
It's
so
probably been up there since Eric was a kid.
Yeah. Or the writers just forgot there was a treehouse.
Probably more likely, but let's headcanon it.
Yeah. But I love that, they're talking about the whole him being a dog and being homesick and home trained and all that jazz, and
We'll put in a doggy
what it looks
door for
like.
you.
And I like that they make it clear that there's always room for Shawn to come back over to the Matthews house. Like that door will never be closed, or window.
Yep.
But then we get to the end scene, Brett, and it's one of those classic Feeney and Matt and Erica scenes.
Yes, it is.
You're Satan?
I didn't clip any of the dialogue here. It was just it was going too long. But Feeney does share the 3 secrets: get a good night's sleep, clear your mind, and trust yourself.
Yeah. But I mean, Feeney does a good job of explaining what the SAT actually is. It's not a test of what you can remember from classes of past. It's what do you know? Can you demonstrate that? Can you put it on paper? And the score doesn't actually mean anything, really, truly. It's just, can you put it on paper what you know or what you can do?
The Scholastic Aptitude Test.
Yeah. And that's the thing I love about Feeney is he is not just teaching the individual student he's with, he's teaching us, the audience, as well. And there's so much stress, so much pressure people put on themselves with SATs, and we'll talk about that a little bit. That, Eric has been experiencing this. If I don't do well on the SATs, I will never go to college. I did average on SATs and still went to college. Like, it's not. There's a lot of schools that, yes, they look at them, but they're not like, oh my gosh, look at the score. We cannot accept them. So, unless you're looking at Ivy Leagues, then it's a lot more critical.
Then they definitely weight those.
Which, by the way, a bachelor's degree from an Ivy League school and a bachelor's degree from a non-Ivy League school, they're the same value.
Yes, they are.
Also, if you get some community college first before you go to get your 4-year degree, it still says graduate of that college. So, fun fact. And Brett, with that,
wow,
that's a season.
That is a season.
Oh boy. I'm kind of floored for a moment, Brett, that we've gotten through 2 whole seasons and now we're getting into one of the best seasons of this whole show.
I know. I have no words.
Wow. Yeah. It's really yellow. Where's my lucky pencil? Oh no. My luck.
Well, before I have too much fun with my mind board, why don't you give us some deep dives on this season finale?
People. Am I the only one who read the summer reading list?
All right, let's talk about 4-month relationships and what type of expectations you could have for them. Ooh. So one expectation could be the L word, a word that Turner was not willing to use with Miss Tompkins, and thus indicating to her of, well, maybe this isn't a real thing. If you're like me, you'll say the L word like after a week of dating. So, it's not necessarily a true indicator of if you're going in the right direction. But, if it doesn't naturally come out, I don't know, somewhat quickly, it feels like it makes sense that something's in the way. Or you could be like Penny and need an extra 2 years to figure it out that you love somebody. There still won't be a huge amount of comfort. What does that mean? One of the things within the 4-month period, the article I was looking at confused me for a second, but essentially, from what I'm seeing, is there's still kind of this uneasiness in your relationship, and that's okay. Like, you're not really figuring out things like directly, like, but you're also not like you don't know all the people's stories yet, so you're not just like, oh my gosh, this story again, Just that kind of balance still of like still learning about the other person and like not knowing like everything just yet and truly being like comfortable. So hopefully by this point you met their friends. If you have some really close friends and they've not met your significant other by this point, what type of relationship are you actually having? Now, luckily for me, my best friend is my wife. So if I get a girlfriend, they'd have no choice but to meet my wife. That's a joke. You may or may not have met family yet. Some people, depending upon how close they are or what time of the holiday it is, maybe they brought them around their family. Maybe they haven't been able to do that just yet. So I'll give you two more. So one thing is that you see each other regularly. When you've been with someone long enough, like 4 months, you should kind of get familiar with their schedule and when they can and can't talk. And even if you're long distance, like you should know like roughly when you should be able to interact with that person. And my wife and I were long distance. So like we had no choice but to be familiar with each other's schedules and when we could call each other, when we had to text each other, all those fun things. And the last is that you may or may not have been to that person's home. Has Jonathan Turner been to Miss Tompkins' home? Does she only ever come over to his apartment? We don't know that for sure, but maybe they have, maybe they haven't. So who knows? But I do think the L word is a big one there, Brett, because if you haven't said I love you to someone by 4 months, do you actually love that person? Like romantically, not in a sense of just liking the person. All right, so let's go with some statistics about pets and being lost, shall we? So, approximately 6.3 million companion animals enter U.S. animal shelters nationwide every year. Of those, approximately 3.1 million are dogs and 3.2 are cats. We estimate that the number of dogs and cats entering the U.S. shelter annually has declined from approximately 7.2 million in 2011 and has been one of the biggest declines. Dogs. Approximately 4.1 million shelter animals are adopted each year, 2 million dogs and 2.1 million cats. Approximately 810,000 animals who enter the shelter are strays and return to their animals. Of those, 710 are dogs and 100,000 are cats. I think the unfortunate part about cats specifically is so many of them look like so many other cats, so it's hard to figure out who's who. Like, my cat, if he gets lost and someone tries to turn him in and is not wearing his collar, like, good luck if I'll ever be able to get him back. Did my pizza plate taste good, cat? As you lick it, you weirdo. Let's talk about SATs. Stress when it comes to the SATs. This is a test like no other. There is no good way to approach it to study. There are no real ways to study for the SATs. That makes it very stressful for students to try and overcome the anxiety of the test. Cobbled status. This test is huge and you have a limited time for each section. Essentially, there's a pretty decent article about stress in the SATs, but the main juxtaposition of the whole thing is that because it's a test that tests your aptitude, a lot of the ways in which nowadays, and even when I was in school, the way we did test was, here's the information. We now give you the information. You now regurgitate the information. Here is the study guide. Here is the way for you to prepare, blah, blah, blah. And you can't fully do that with the SATs. Like, I had teachers that would give, like, here are questions that have showed up on SATs in the past, those type of things. Those things get released. But apparently there are 9 tips to doing well on the SATs, other than just the 3. So the first is to create an SAT study schedule. Basically, have a set time when you study, and if you're not supposed to be studying for it at that time, don't be studying for it at that time. Use quality prep materials. Increase your reading speed. Target the mistakes you can control. Come to the test day prepared. Great help. Answer the questions you know first. And I have to say, this one and the next one eliminate the incorrect answers. those are by far my two favorite things when I was taking tests once upon a time. To do was make sure I know the ones I know. Okay, I know this answer. I'm solid. I know I'm good to go. And then just making sure as you go to the ones you don't fully know, okay, well, what can I eliminate? What do I know for sure is not the answer? And you do get into those 50-50s, but at least you have a much better chance answering a 50-50 right than a 25% chance. So I'll always take those odds. When I was doing my CDL, you can, for those tests, skip the ones you don't want to do. You can push them back to later. And every now and then, if you're doing well on some of the tests, you get to a point where you're like, oh, I passed the test and I don't have to look at the ones that I didn't even do well. So last ones are don't leave any questions blank. Sometimes you have to guess, and that's okay. They're not looking for how you got there. They're quite often just looking for what's the answer. So take the chance of, instead of a 0 chance of getting the right score and 25%, there's a big difference between those two. The big one that was communicated to me once upon a time, and I never did it, and I kind of wish I did, but take the SATs more than once. One of the things that a teacher told us was, hey, when you take the SATs, it's a cumulative thing. So if you do well on the math for one portion, but not do well in English, and the next time do well in the English, but not so good on the math, they'll take the best score and then give you the top scores. And so my one teacher, who's a math guy, he said, I took it 3 times. One time when I was a sophomore, twice when I was a junior, and I felt comfortable and I didn't feel like I needed to do it as a senior. It's not a bad idea to do it multiple times and just get it over with. Honest to goodness, someone could take it their freshman year if they really wanted to.
Yep.
SATs, important, but,
not everything.
Yeah. So, vandalism, Brett, it's kind of a big deal. From a legal website, this is what it says. Vandalism of churches and schools. Pennsylvania law is tough on people who vandalize schools and churches. The state created a separate crime called the institutional vandalism that provides for harsher penalties. A person commits the offense of institutional vandalism if they knowingly desecrate, vandalize, deface, or otherwise damage property belonging to a church, school, or cemetery. You can also run afoul of this law by damaging any personal property located in one of these facilities. So essentially, dear listeners, no matter how angry you get with your school, be careful if you ever destroy anything, spray paint anything, because that could be a lot of bad for you, and legally they have the right to do that. So, word to the wise. I had one more, but I'm going to save that till next year, Brett, because that becomes a much bigger topic of hand. So yeah, those are our deep dives for today.
All right. Well,
and, hold on. I'm sorry. Before we forget, we had 3 different cast members, both recurring and semi-recurring, who left. We said goodbye to both of them, but I just want to give one more farewell to all of our cast members who will not be joining us again next school year. And again, thank you for your services, and you're always welcome to join this podcast.
That's right. You may not be on the show, but you're forever in our hearts.
Forever. And now, let's get to them grades.
Well, we're going to talk about what we learned first.
What did we learn, Brett?
You know anything about the Odyssey? Huh? Did I say you could talk?
I didn't teach you that.
My friend Mr. Matthews will lead the discussion.
Do I have to draw you a picture?
What did we learn, Tyler? Well, I'll talk about what I learned first. That way you don't have to go first.
We learned that the line between teacher and adult that cares is very, very tough situation to be in.
Yes.
I'll just say this is a great reminder of lines that you are willing to cross for the right reasons, and changing the dynamics as you feel you need to with a certain person, and making sure it's appropriate. For Turner to advocate for Shawn to move in with him now is fine. If Turner had started the school year and looked at Shawn and said, I want you to move into my place, that would be weird. But he's had a year of being his teacher. He's had time with him, knowing of when you need to make those calls and to be wise in them. And even again, Feeney is perplexed with this. It doesn't know what the right thing to do is. He just wants Turner to be wise and to be careful. And even next year when we get back into this, he's like, hey, you know, be careful. Like, don't set yourself up to hurt yourself.
Yep.
What'd you learn, Brett?
That 4 months is too soon to drop the L-bomb.
Really? Is that what you learned, Brett?
No. Not necessarily learning a lesson, but really we talked last episode about it being really an incomplete episode without this one. And between last episode and this episode, it really just reminded me of just how much my own heart breaks for teenagers and even young adults who are yearning for that stability, for that parental figure, or even just a sense of home of their own. And I mean, I'm not in full-time ministry any longer. I'm not even actively volunteering right now. But I see that even just in passing right now. And I'm not in a position to offer that. I'm not, you know, you mentioned day one, episode one, it'd be really inappropriate for Mr. Turney to tell Shawn, I want you to move in with me. You know, I'm at that stage with, you know, seeing all of these teenagers that I would see that in now. So I don't have that. Yeah, I don't have that relationship to be able to speak into that. But that doesn't mean it doesn't break my heart to see that.
Right.
It doesn't mean it doesn't encourage me to want to do something. So really, it's really just a reminder of this episode, and last episode, of that's something that's big in my own heart.
Yeah. I read.
Yeah. So now we can talk about grades.
I'm right.
No, you're exactly right.
So am I done with my education? Can I go?
So I'll let you go first, since you know, last episode was incomplete without this one.
I mean, this is just such a solid episode. And I mean, I'm going to say it like this. This is also incomplete because we're finishing the story.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like, in fairness to last episode, I have to give this episode also a B+. Because again, it almost feels like this should have been a 2-part episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like a real 2-part episode where it's career day and then almost like they skip forward a week and Shawn's getting antsy after a week. And because honestly, I feel like Shawn is the type of character who after a few days would start to feel this way. So it seems like the writers did an injustice to him in saying that he lasted 3 weeks and now he's going crazy out of nowhere. Like, it just feels like this should have been like one solid long episode, because all the storylines are continuing through.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing truly new about this other than the conclusion.
Yep.
So B+. It's a great episode, Brett, but they messed up in the way they structured this episode.
Yep, I can see that. I'm going to stick with an A for this one. Just in that I really like what they do with Jonathan's through line for this. Between him and all of the wisdom that he gets from Feeney and the guidance, with what he goes through with Kat, that wasn't the commitment he was supposed to be making at this point in his life. With Shawn and looking for the stability and the home that he needs, as great a home as the Matthews can provide, that's not the home that he needs right now.
Right.
And clearly he's not going to find the home that he needs with Chet right now. I mean, the writers, yeah, they could have done better. They could have structured it better. But the strength of these two characters throughout the 22 minutes here are enough for me to land this with a solid A.
That's fair. I mean, last week you convinced me to change my grade, Brett, and I have to say this week, doggone it, I'm sticking with the B+.
All right. So, where's my dad joke?
I don't want to say the words I wanted to say because then you'll have it on record. But you know what I could be saying right now, Brett. I'll let your brain imagine what I'm telling you. Anywho, I do have a dad joke.
You're Satan?
Go.
Cat, I just. You take a compliment worse than any woman I've ever met.
All right, so here we go. Brett, I got a question for you.
Okay.
Is there anything worse than when it's raining cats and dogs?
I used to know this one. What?
Yes, hailing taxis.
Well, good looking people. That is season 2.
Season 2.
That's right. Season 2 is in the books. And remember,
They want you to take the roles.
you can reach out to us on social media at Dads Meet World across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Email us at dadsmeetworld@gmail.com. You can pick up a lovely shirt, sticker, magnet, or more at dadsmeetworld.threadless.com. And by gum, you can do all kinds of stuff that I can't think of at the moment because my brain is mush.
Mush it is.
Well, Tyler, that is season 2.
That is season 2, Brett.
Yes, I probably said that already, but I can't
Hey,
think
did we
of
mention
anything
that
else.
was season 2?
Yes, did I say that already? It's season 2.
Yeah, good looking people. We'll see you next week. And
Oh, do you see me ballroom dancing here?
Season 3 next week, but I'm sure we'll have something good for you regardless next week. So
Well, we'll probably do a season 2 recap. We gotta, we did one after season 1, gave our grades and everything, and
we gotta do it again.
Yeah, I think I've got some fun things in mind for it. So
you have fun things. I have fun things.
All right. Well, then I think we should do that.
Come back next week for fun things.
Yes. I always hit the one with the really amorous music.
All right, good looking people. We love you. Thank you so much.
See you, good looking.
I want you to take the roles.
You know, how can I learn so much every week and still be so stupid?
You can find Dads Meet World on Facebook, Twitter, and probably a few other places just by searching for Dads Meet World. Dads Meet World is a production of Headfirst Studios. Headfirst Studios. Tell your story.
Well, come back. Don't go to sleep on me now. Oh, you jerk. Just disappeared on me. I'll have to send you this article. This picture they have in here makes me really grossed out.
And now Tyler, who has taken a comically large bite of pizza, is going to take it away.
So, yeah. Sorry. So, we start this episode in the boys' room. Why are you taking so many screenshots?
That's 2.
Anywho, so yeah, just so each year approximately 9. Nope, I don't want to read that one. That's a sad one. All right, I need to check out my pizza real quick.
Okay.
But if you want to hit us with that synopsis, that's probably a wise choice.